Welcome to our training on the Affordable Care Act reporting steps. By March 31st, 2016, all applicable large employers and anyone offering self-funded medical insurance plans are required to provide Form 1095 to any employee who was a full-time employee for 1 month or more during 2015. They will then submit a copy of these documents to the IRS along with a 1094 transmittal form by May 31st, done by mail, or by May 30th, done electronically. During the next few minutes, I'll walk you through how to complete these documents. Our objective is to help you get through this process in an easy step-by-step fashion, helping you meet all requirements. I'm Ken Spencer, President and CEO of HR Service, a provider of benefit compliance and HR solutions. Now, before we begin, I have a couple caveats. Talk to all experts you have at your disposal. It's the first year. It's going to be a learning year. Labor attorneys, benefit brokers, CPAs, HR software, payroll providers, you're all going to have different kinds of knowledge. Exploit it. We provide you with everything needed to meet these requirements, but it's a good idea to use all resources available to you. To provide you with a little background, we now have two new IRS sections, 6055 and 6056, that outline requirements for applicable large employers and self-funded plans to meet employer-shared responsibility provisions, providing minimum essential coverage, minimum value, at affordable rates. These provisions further outline reporting requirements, which will be the focus of our discussion. In essence, ACA reporting is simply providing required forms to the IRS and sending copies to full-time employees. This helps them so they know who is meeting the requirements to have coverage or who they need to send fines to. The first step is making sure if you need to complete the ACA reporting documents at all. If you have 50 or more full-time equivalent employees during 2014, or if you offered a self-funded plan during 2015, you're required to report. This applies to all entities, even government and nonprofit organizations. It's important to consider if you are part of a control group, because the total of all control group members is taken into consideration when determining the 50 full-time equivalent threshold. All businesses, when an owner has 80% or more ownership, or where 50 or fewer common owners have 80% control, they would be considered part of a control group. Step 2, determine which ACA forms to complete. If you are an applicable large employer, use forms 1095C and 1094C. If you offer a self-funded plan and have less than 50 employees, use forms 1095B and 1094B. Now, this discussion focuses on completing forms 1095C and 1094C, the most common forms. There are two alternative methods of reporting under sections 6056, which were developed to minimize the cost and administrative hassle for employers. The alternative methods are reporting based on certification of qualifying offers and an option to report without separate identification of full-time employees, yet certain requirements are satisfied. And we'll cover these in greater detail, but it's important we mention that now, because if you are looking at those options, it will impact how you fill out some of the 1095C document, or whether or not you even have to. Step 3 is determining which sections of 1095 to complete. Complete sections 1 and 2 for applicable large employers with fully insured plans. Complete all 3 sections, 1, 2, and 3, if you offer a self-funded plan. Here's a copy of the 1095C showing parts 1, 2, and 3. Notice for self-funded plans in section 3, you'll need to cover individual information for dependents, such as their names, social security number, dates of birth, and months they were covered. In summary, if you're an applicable large employer and a self-funded plan, use forms 1095 and 1094C, reporting on all sections 1, 2, and 3. If you're an applicable large employer and have a fully insured plan, use Forms 1095 and 1094C and only report on Parts 1 and 2. If you have less than 50 employees and offer a self-funded plan, use Forms 1094B and 1095B, completing all sections. All right, step 4, determine which employees are to receive Forms 1095. Provide a 1095 to anyone who was considered a full-time employee for 1 full month or more during the year. The definition of a full-time employee is those who average 30 hours or more work time during the month. Also provide a 1095 to any part-time employees if they were covered on the medical plan. Okay, step 5, we're now ready to begin pulling together the data needed to complete the reporting documents. Hopefully you already have a lot of this information pulled together through your payroll or HRIS systems. I'll briefly outline the data by referencing each section. In Part 1 of the 1095C report, you'll need basic employee and employer information. For employees, you'll need the employee's full name, social security number, and address. For the employer, and as for the employer's name, EIN, address, and telephone number. Section 2 is the most complicated area of 1095, as it requires you to reference a table of codes for question 14, where you report on the type of coverage offered, and question 16, where you show any applicable safe harbors or why you may be excused for a certain type of offer. Question 15 is where you report on the employee's share of monthly premium costs for the employee-only minimum value. Now, let's go into more detail in each of these sections. Okay, enter 1A if you provided a qualifying offer, meaning you offered minimum essential coverage, minimum value at affordable rates for the employee, their spouse, and dependents. I'm not going to read through each of the codes at this time here, but please reference these, and you see them in the instructions as well. What you'll do is you'll put in whichever code applies. So you've got each of the different codes here for 14. If the same code applies for all months, just put it in all 12. If the code changes for different months, or doesn't apply for each month, put in whichever code applies in month-by-month sections. Okay, in line 15, enter the cost of the employee share of the lowest cost monthly premium for self-only minimum value coverage. So if you use 1A, a qualifying offer in question 14, you can leave this blank. You've already answered the question, given you said that it was affordable. Now, to calculate the employee share of the premium, calculate the annual cost of the employee-only coverage and divide this by 12. Enter the amount in the applicable months. If it's the same amount for all 12 months, just put it in the all 12 months section only. For question 16, enter the applicable code, if any, where the section applies to the employee offering the relief of or a safe harbor. One thing to keep in mind on these codes here is use code 2C if applicable, even if other codes might apply. And again, rather than reading through each of these codes, I'm going to reference you to them here, but you'll also see them in the instructions. So the same thing applies here, that enter in whichever code applies for section 16. As previously mentioned, Part 3 only applies if you're an applicable large employer and offering self-funded plans. Otherwise, leave this section blank. This report will be provided by the insurance provider, so it's nothing that you'll have to worry about if you're a fully insured plan. If this applies to you, then you're going to enter in the names, social security number, dates of birth, and months covered for all covered individuals. All right, you're now ready in step 6 to actually complete Form 1095. So refer to the provided ACA reporting instructions and the forms that are included with your kit to now go through and start filling out those documents. All right, once your 1095s are complete, you're ready to mail them to full-time employees identified back in step 4. Make sure these are sent no later than March 31st, 2016. If you have them ready by January 31st, feel free to include them with your W-2 documents, or you can send them separately. We're now going to shift our attention to Form 1094-C, which is a transmittal document that goes to the IRS along with copies of the 1095 documents that are given to the full-time employees. If you have 250 or more employees, you're required to complete this form electronically. Okay, so step 8 is completing Form 1094-C or B. Let's look into the information required for this report. Part 1 is the primary contact information for the employer for questions 1 through 8. Then 15. Even if you work with a partner to handle your filings, the contact person shown should be someone within your organization who can speak authoritatively to any questions the form may raise. Questions 9 through 14 only applies for government entities. Leave question 17 blank. 18 is where you list the total number of 1095 documents submitted. Make sure your address lines up with the employer address used on Forms 1095-C for employees. You might want to consider multiple Forms 1094-C if your employer data sources matches employees with satellite offices or home addresses if they work remotely. Some employers with multiple divisions may choose to report by division, possibly sending in multiple 1094-C documents. At least one of the 1094-Cs must be the authoritative transmittal for the organization. Simply check the box in 19 if this is your authoritative transmittal, then complete parts 2, 3, and 4 to the extent possible. If you check no, sign the form at the bottom of page 1 and leave the rest blank. Enter the total number of 1095-C forms submitted in 20 as the authoritative transmittal. You're going to represent all the forms 1095-C associated with your EIN on any other 1094. So this number in line 20 might be completely different from what you entered earlier. If during any month the employer was a member of an aggregated applicable large group, check yes in 21. If no, don't complete part 4. Line 22 shows options for the alternative simplified reporting methods you may claim here. 2 alternative methods of reporting were developed. The alternative reporting methods are reporting based on certification of qualifying offers and an option to report without separate identification of full-time employees if certain conditions related to the offers of coverage are satisfied. Now, if you're claiming a certificate of eligibility, it will impact the coverage codes calculations on line 14, 15, and 16 of the Forms 1095-C that you file for employees. This is not a mandatory section, but you'll want to spend some time here if you have 50 to 99 employees and want to claim the transition relief, or if you're using the affordability safe harbors. If you're claiming a safe harbor this year, make sure you have solid records on which employees' Forms 1095-Cs are affected. The corresponding certificates you'll want to select in line 21 and the 1095-Cs and applicable coverage codes in line 16 of the 1095-C document. Keep in mind, under the certificates of eligibility, it may be appropriate to claim more than one. I'll now go through more details on these certificates of eligibility. A qualifying offer is where the employer provides an offer of minimum essential coverage at minimum value at affordable rates, meaning employee cost for the employee coverage for each month does not exceed 9.5% of the single poverty level line to employees, their spouse, or their dependents. An applicable large member reporting under this certification of qualified members may furnish a simplified statement to the employee rather than furnishing a copy of the 1095-C. This option is not available to those offering a self-funded plan. So if you qualify for the simplified qualifying offer, furnish each full-time employee with either a copy of the 1095-C or A statement containing the employee's name, address, EIN, contact name, telephone number, and a statement that for all 12 months of the calendar year, the employee and his or her spouse and dependents received a qualifying offer, therefore they're not eligible for a premium tax credit. To be eligible to use the qualifying offer method transition relief, you must certify that you made a qualifying offer to one or more months of the calendar year in 2015 to at least 95% of your full-time employees. If an employee reports using this method, it must not complete Form 1095-C, Part 2, line 15, for any month for which the qualifying offer is made or for which qualifying offer method transition relief applies. If your employee size was 50 to 99 during 2014, you have transitional relief to not be required to provide coverage for 2015, although you still have to submit an ACA reporting documents, 1095 and 1094. You can check this box if this applies to you, or if you qualify for relief for a calculation of accessible premiums under 4980H for AL for applicable large employers with 100 or more full-time employees. It'll reference you to the instructions for more details on section 4980H if you wanted more information on that. To be eligible for this method, the 98% offer method, an applicable large member certifies that it offered for all months of the calendar year affordable health coverage providing minimum value at least 98% of its employees for whom it's filing a Form 1095-C and offering minimum essential coverage to those employees' dependents and may qualify for simplified reporting procedures. The employer is not required to identify which of the employees for whom it is filing were full-time employees, but the employer is still required to file Forms 1095-C on behalf of its full-time employee members. In Part 3 of 1094-C, if you offer minimum essential coverage for all 12 months to at least 95% of full-time employees and dependents, check yes in line 23. No where applicable. In B, enter the number of full-time employees that don't include anyone in the limited non-assessment period. And then the limited non-assessment period, that means that someone who's out where you're trying to determine if they're eligible for coverage, sometimes referred to as a measurement period. In C, enter the total number of all employees. This time count those in the limited non-assessment period, part-timers and seasonal. If you selected box D on line 22, the 98% offer method, you don't need to fill in part B. In column C, enter your total employee count. In column D, if you check yes to line 21, meaning you were part of an aggregated group, check the box for each of the months of the year that your company was a member of that group, or all 12 months is applicable. For column E, only fill this out if you selected box C in line 22 for the transitional relief under 4980H. If you're under 100 employees, enter code A. If over 100, code B, showing the type of relief for which you are eligible. If you're part of a controlled group, aggregated applicable large employers, complete section 4. Enter the information about your sublink organizations here. Otherwise, leave this blank. You can include up to 30 organizations. If there are more than 30, use only those with the highest average monthly employee count. All right. The final step is to submit Forms 1095-C along with copies of all 1095-C documents to the IRS. This must be done by May 31st for paper copies, or by June 30th if sending in electronically. Now, if you need more time to submit documents to the IRS, file Form 8809 to receive a 30-day extension. If mailing your 1094 and copies of 1094 documents to the IRS, find your state here to determine where to mail the documents. And this is also included in your instructions. So you notice here you find your state, and then that's where you mail it. find your state, and that's where you're now. Now, if you fail to submit your documents in a timely fashion, you would be subject to a penalty of $250 per return. For this first report, there will be no penalties as long as you put forth a good faith effort to complete your documents and to do so within the set deadlines. As part of your service, you have access to written step-by-step instructions, detailed instructions, and materials to help you. If you need help beyond the provided ACA reporting toolkit, call our toll-free number 855-447-3375, extension 1, to speak with one of our ACA professionals. Calls for this are outside of this package service. There is an investment of $3 per minute with a 10-minute minimum if you need this type of assistance. And we hope this training and other provided tools help your organization to complete all the ACA requirements. And thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity to assist you.